Today we're going to talk about equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. So all of you who are missing Algebra 1 are going to be so happy because this section is basically Algebra 1. But it's geometry because we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. So if you remember from Algebra 1, remember that slope, right? Remember slope is change of y over change of x, or rise over run. So we're going to need that. Also remember from Algebra 1 that if we have parallel lines, if they're parallel, they have the same slant, or in other words, they have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, the slopes have a special relationship as well. They're opposite reciprocals. So in other words, for example, if one slope was -2, the other slope would be +1/2. Remember, that's kind of like 2 over 1. Opposite sign and reciprocal. Okay, so we are going to determine which lines are parallel and which are perpendicular from this picture up here. So we've got 4 lines. We're going to start with A, and we have to figure out the slope for each to determine if they're parallel or perpendicular. You can't just say, oh, those look parallel. Okay, so slope for A is going to be 3 minus 2 over 0 minus -3. So that's going to give us 1/3. For B, it is going to be 0, equals 0 minus -1 over 2 minus 0, or +1/2. For C, it's going to be -4 minus -5 over 1 minus -1, which does give us 1/2. And then D, notice that this point and this point are D. D shares a point with the blue line, or A. So let me move that. So D slope is 2 minus 0 over -3 minus -2, which is -2. So now we look at these answers and say what's parallel and what's perpendicular. So notice that B and C have the same slope. So we get B is parallel to C. And then notice this slope for D is the opposite reciprocal, right? We could think of it as like -2 over 1. And so D is perpendicular to B and C. For this next one, we are going to write an equation of a line passing through this point. So this is like our XY, and is parallel to this line. So parallel means it has the same slope. So basically, we know the slope is 2, and we have this ordered pair, -1, 1, which is our XY. So we're going to use that old y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. Or remember, this is the slope, and this is the y-intercept. Now we have this, we have this, we have this, so we can find that. So plugging in what we know when y is 1, we know y is 1, slope is 2, x is -1, we're going to look for b. So 1 equals -2 plus b, looks like b equals 3. So my final equation in terms of x and y is slope is 2, y-intercept is b, or b, 3. Next one, write an equation of the line passing through this point, so that's my xy again, perpendicular to this line. Okay, well, perpendicular means opposite reciprocal, but I don't know what the slope is yet. So let's subtract 2x from both sides. Y equals -2x plus 2. Okay, so slope is -2. Perpendicular slope would be +1/2. +1/2. So let's plug in what we know. We know y is 3, 1/2 is my slope, 2 is my x, plus b. So this is going to be 3 equals 1 plus b, or 2 is equal to b. So my final equation is going to be, in terms of x and y, 1/2 x plus 2. Okay, here are 2 more problems. You can try this one, pause the video, and then push play. So this passes through this point. Oh, it's 2 parts. There's an A and a B. We have to do parallel and then perpendicular. Okay, so first of all, parallel. It's going to have the same slope. So for A, we know slope is 3, and we have the point 1, 5. So we're going to say 5 equals 3 times 1 plus b. 5 equals 3 plus b. 2 equals b. So for part A, we have y equals 3x plus 2. Now for part B, let's see, it's perpendicular to that. So we know the slope has to be negative 1/3. Ooh, this one's not going to be fun. And we have the point 1/5. All right, let's do it. So 5 equals negative 1/3 times 1. They couldn't have given us a multiple of 3, plus b. So let's see, 5 equals negative 1/3 plus b. We're going to add 1/3 to both sides. This isn't so bad. We'll just call it 5 1/3 is equal to b. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5 1/3. All right, finding the distance from a point to the line, y equals negative x plus 3. All right, this is a super problem because we kind of need to find out, now we can almost like see it on here, but we never know for sure. We need to find this point that intersects with that other line. So in other words, what we just did, and this is going to be like day 2 probably, we want to find, we have to find that equation of the pink line. We need to find that point of intersection, and then we can find the distance. So this is a super problem. So first of all, the equation, we want to find the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals negative x plus 3 that goes through 1, 0. Okay, so we want to find the equation of that pink line. So that means we're going to do, let's see, perpendicular means my slope is going to be, positive 1, right? Because right now it's negative 1. The reciprocal of 1 is 1, and positive is positive. So let's, like I said, we can kind of see it on this picture, but we can't always see it. So it won't be so obvious, so we need to know how to do it. So when y is 0, slope is 1, x is 1, plus b. So 0 equals 1 plus b. Looks like b is negative 1. So my equation is y equals 1x minus 1. Now my other equation is y equals negative x plus 3. So if you remember from Algebra 1, if we add these equations together, see how these are going to cancel out? We could use, or you know what, let's do, because they're always going to be the same and they won't always cancel out. Let's do substitution, where since y equals this, I'm going to substitute that in place of y there. So x minus 1 equals negative x plus 3. And if I add x to both sides, we get 2x minus 1 equals 3. Adding 1 to both sides, 2x equals 4. X equals 2. And then my other equation is, and so we're looking for that point of intersection now between these two lines, just to be clear. And so now when we plug in, y equals 2 minus 1 or 1. So they intersect at 2, 1. which is what we saw there, which is what we thought. But now, we verified it. Okay, so now, finally, we want to find the distance from 1, 0 to 2, 1. And so to do that, it's going to be d equals the square root of, subtract the x's squared plus subtract the y's squared. So this is going to be the square root of 1 plus 1, or in other words, the square root of 2. So that is our answer. So just to recap, we need to find, first, we find the equation, actually, I'll write it here too. So y equals 1x minus 1. So that is the equation of the line perpendicular to the given line. And then we take our new equation, the one we just found, plus the one we were given, to find, this is the point of intersection. And then we use that point of intersection with the given point to find the distance from that point to the line. Phew.